ويضرب الله الأمثال للناس لعلهم يتذكرون.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters. Welcome to our introductory show on Amthal al-Quran, parables of the Quran. I have here with me my good friend Ustad Saf. Assalamu alaikum, Saf. How are you?
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. How are you, Ustad? All right?
Alhamdulillah, bi khair. Alhamdulillah, all good, mashallah. So just wait for a few minutes for our audience to join. In the meantime, those who have joined, if you will kindly share and invite your friends, families, whoever else is available to join this introductory show on this new series of shows that we'll have during the month of Ramadan, inshallah ta'ala. So today is just kind of a kickstart, just to give you a flavor of what's to come in this show. So if you've got your mobile phone on you or your laptop, jump on and then also share this to your friends and family. Whilst you do that, I'll do the same, inshallah, and we can get going. So we've got a few people joining, mashallah. Right. Right, I think I've got a couple of people who've joined already, so and they're sharing. So, Ustaz Saf, how are you? How have you been? How has lockdown been treating you?
Alhamdulillah. And we're sort of outside of London, where all the action seems to be. But alhamdulillah, we're well. Obviously, it's not been so well for many others. But alhamdulillah, where we are at the moment, Allah's keeping us well. How about down your end?
Yes.
What's going on down east?
Yes, in London, still on lockdown, you know, with alhamdulillah, we are in good health, but we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ease the situation as soon as possible.
Ameen, ya Rabbil Alameen.
Inshallah ta'ala. So let's get started. So I've got some slides for us to go through, just to give a bit of structure to this show, inshallah ta'ala, to keep us to time. Hopefully, you know, this will be at least 20 to 30 minutes long, and just to give you a flavor of what is to come. So before we actually jump into it, I mean, we were talking a few days or maybe a week ago, we need to do something during month of Ramadan, specifically related to the Quran. And as you know, that this month itself is honored by the fact that the Quran was revealed in this month. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. Indeed, in the month of Ramadan, the Quran was revealed as a guidance, as a explanation, and as a criterion for people. So it was inevitable that we're going to do something to do with the Quran itself, but we were kind of thinking what to do, and then we came up with this particular idea of Amthal al-Quran. So just a bit of your thought on this topic in terms of how you kind of see it.
All right, Jazakallah khairan. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala khayri bariyah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa ba'd. Just want to welcome all our viewers and listeners wherever you are. Hope you're well and you're safe. Alhamdulillah, please join us and share. Inshallah, should be a very, very hopefully we can make it a productive session for you and ourselves. Now, yeah, I mean, you're right. We did have a chat about it, didn't we? And it is the month of the Quran. So we kind of thought, didn't we, that, you know, at least it was in my mind as well, and I know it was in your mind as well. How then can we make connections with the Quran? I mean, obviously everyone's finding their way to connect to the Quran, right? And they're thinking about how to do that and preparing for that for the blessed month ahead, if Allah honors us to be able to enter it. Allahumma balighna Ramadan. So yeah, and then we sort of we felt that what would be a great way to engage with the Quran, and to open up ourselves to engaging with the Quran al-Kareem, then through the topic of our sessions, parables, the ways that Allah strikes parables and similitudes, or however you want to translate it, I suppose, and what impact and effect they're supposed to have on us. We thought, yeah, well, let's be a bit ambitious. If Allah gives us a tawfiq, and do a monthly, for a whole month, every day, some sort of glimpses on amthal. Why not engage with the Quran on parables? What an interesting way, isn't it, to engage?
Absolutely. I think the other thing about parables, again, it's one of those topics which the ulama, they have kind of talked about, especially in the subject of ulumul Quran. So there's a lot of discussions to be had around parables. But I think as a caveat, this is not like a full-blown sort of course going into the ins and outs and the technicalities of Amthal al-Quran, because there are many great works out there on Amthal al-Quran. Some are in English, and also many are in Arabic as well. But I think it's more in terms of, every day, let's take an amthal, let's take a parable from the Quran for us to reflect and think upon, so that we, gain a greater appreciation of these parables and their lessons that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned. So I'm going to bring up a couple of slides just for us to go through now, and then we can sort of give a taste of what is to come during this month itself. So here, there's a slide here. I'm not sure if you can see this particular slide yet. Has it come up or not? Let me just have a quick look. And just one moment. There we go. Share slide. There we go. Right. Okay, brothers and sisters, if you're joining, please like and share, and invite others to this introductory session, and make sure to forward the video itself. So, right. So, introduction. So I've got a couple of verses here regarding parables. So I think before we sort of jump into the verses themselves, what are parables? What are similitudes? I mean, these are, terms, parables and similitudes we might not use in everyday language. It's probably worthwhile just spending a few minutes just, contemplating just our everyday experience with this notion of parables and similitudes before we sort of dive into these verses.
Yeah, I think that's important. Of course, as you rightly mentioned at the beginning, this is not a course on amthal. This is not we are just sharing, sort of some important thoughts and reflections on a parable, inshallah, every day of the month of Ramadan. But today's session, we're trying to set up a kind of template or structure for our audiences, those who are joining us, to sort of think about. Now, you're right. Parables or similitudes, we know there's some nuances, there's some differences between both words, but generally, scholars like, for example, Al-Hafiz Ibn Al-Qayyim, he says, that when we use mathal or amthal in the Quran, is that it's أنها شبيه شيء بشيء في حكمه وتقريب المعقول من المحسوس. So what he's trying to say in a simple way is that parables or similitudes or examples are comparing one thing with another thing, but the main thing is, and this is the middle paragraph, if you can see on the slide, the purpose of similitudes, the middle paragraph is the key. It's to bring the meaning of something closer to the mind so the mind can grasp it. So it's to conceptualize something abstract for the mind in a tangible way, as if you sensed it yourself. So the reason why we give, or the nature of a similitude or a parable, is to compare one thing with another so your mind can understand something related to the comparison, but in a tangiable way rather than an abstract way.
Often this is really used if you have, complex or abstract ideas.
Definitely.
In order to communicate that, you bring something, you compare it with something which is very visual, tangible, that everyone can relate to, and be engaged in that conversation. One of the things about parables and similitudes, it draws the listener into the actual discussion, and in a way engages the listener in a manner to almost come to the conclusion themselves. So
Look, definitely the Arabs have regarding sort of similitudes or parables. There's a quote attributed to one of the great sort of amongst the Mu'tazila scholars, and Nazam. He was also a poet, he was a sha'ir, but the quote is actually, to my knowledge, has precedence in Abu Ubayd al-Qasim bin Salam, the author of Kitab al-Amwal. Now he is attributed to saying, and Nazam reiterates the statement, he says, تجتمع في المثل أربعة لا تجتمع في غيره من الكلام. That similitudes, things that we're going to be looking at inshallah throughout this blessed month, have 4 qualities that you won't find in other parts of speech or other types of speech. إيجاز اللفظ, that's the first one, and that means brevity, a minimal amount of words, concision. إصابة المعنى, an exact precision in meaning. حسن التشبيه, a beautiful apt comparison. وجودة الكتابة, and something being the quality of the way that the simile or the comparison is written. فهو نهاية البلاغة, and that is the pinnacle of rhetorical speech. But one more other quote I want to give it to you, by Ibn al-Muqaffa, a great, the great poet Ibn al-Muqaffa. He says this: إذا جعل مثلا كان أوضح للمنطق. When you use parables, they're so piercing, they're even more clear than logic.
And that's not surprising. Even people like Socrates and Plato and others,
that's right,
in their philosophical work, they often resorted to parables.
That's right.
To pass some sort of deep conceptual philosophical issues. So
absolutely.
As a tool, it's a very effective tool in terms of passing ideas. I've just pulled on the slides number of verses regarding parables, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he tells us explicitly in the Quran that he actually strikes parables, and these are the verses which are often cited when we want to talk about parables. So if you look at the first verse, وَتِلْكَ الْأَمْثَالُ نَضْرِبُهَا لِلنَّاسِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. And the second verse has got a similar structure at the beginning, وَتِلْكَ الْأَمْثَالُ نَضْرِبُهَا لِلنَّاسِ وَمَا يَعْقِلُوهَا إِلَّا الْعَالِمُونَ. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying we offer people amthal, these illustrations or parables or examples. Nadribuha linnas, we strike them for mankind, human beings. And what's really struck me about the language in this verse is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is striking these parables linnas. He did not specify to say it's for the ulama or for the intellectuals.
That's right.
But it's for everyone. Whether you're a lay person with very minimum education or whether you're a scholar, because what you'll find in the Quran is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he draws upon everyday experience. So when we look at the different sort of parables as we go through the month, Allah will talk about the natural phenomenons that exist in the world, in terms of the rain, the thunder, cloud, ashes, everyday things where people actually can sort of sense and feel, so that the message can be related to them in a very tangible way. And then if we look at the ending of these verses, or the first 2 verses, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the hikmah, the reason why these parables are there. They're not just merely there for entertainment or just to appreciate maybe the eloquence only, although they're very eloquent in the Arabic language. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ, so that they may do tafakkur, reflect. And the second verse, وَمَا يَعْقِلُوهَا إِلَّا الْعَالِمُونَ, and it's only those who have ilm, true knowledge, they will able to grasp them. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that many of these amthal which are coming, there is a purpose, there is a message, there is a moral truth which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to convey through these amthal.
Definitely. Yeah, no, that's very, very important. So even though, you know, the sessions, inshallah, we're hoping to do through the month is not so technical. We're not overburdening the session with technicalities, but what we would encourage and remind our listeners and viewers, and obviously ourselves first, is to think about these parables that we hopefully will be going through, bi'idhnillah, but with a seriousness, to reflect on them, to engage with it, and to ponder and think about them. So we want to do that, isn't it? We want to do that. That's one of the aims that, you know, of going through these kind of sessions. We want to remind ourselves, and we want to be able to ponder and think about them. So yes, I think, you know, we want to do what the Quran is urging us to do.
But let's go to the next slide where we've got an example of a parable, and how we'll actually break it down, and how we'll follow this particular format going through the rest of the month, inshallah. So let me just bring that slide up, and you can see here, right? So so this is a slide with a verse from Surah Al-Muddathir. And we'll go into the verse a little bit later on, but just for the viewers, what you will notice on this slide is that on the right hand side we've got some images, because parables and similitudes, they are very graphic, they're very visual. I mean, today we live in a world of imageries. I mean, you know, we have memes, right? These digital memes, and I like to think of parables as it's the, you know, it's the Quranic memes in the Quran itself, just to give that visual, you know, very vivid visual image to make a point. So we've got some imageries, and we'll have some imageries as well in the upcoming parables in the forthcoming shows, because the images, they're very important in terms of making the point. So you can see some imageries on the right hand side. Right at the top, we have the verse that we want to just, you know, talk about in terms of show the structure, and then we have something called simile components, right? So before anyone really freaks out, simile components, you know what it is, don't worry, we will explain it, we'll go through that inshallah ta'ala. So let's just before we go into this, that we know in ilm al-balagha, in the science of rhetoric, we have an entire sort of discipline called ilm al-bayan, the science of figurative speech, and part of that is, one of them is called at-tashbih, which is similes, because it's a major section. So I think it's worthwhile just spending a few minutes going through what is the tashbih, what is a simile, and what are its basic sort of pillars, because most of the amthal that we are going to cover, or a good portion of them, they're going to form or follow the structure of a tashbih, of a simile. So I think, you know, it's probably worthwhile just spending a good few minutes just, you know, going into that, and then going into this particular example, inshallah.
Yeah, definitely. Before we go into the components, obviously, as Ustad mentioned, that the similes that we want to, the parables that we want to go through are what we call explicit parables or similes. So they're known as tashbih al-zahir or tashbih al-sarih. Yeah. Tashbih al-sarih, where it's clear. Now, a lot of the tashbih or similes or parables in the Quran are what's known as kamin. You know, they're implicit, they're not explicit. You have to sort of dig them out. We will see.
We might have one or two of those.
This is what I was going to say. Yeah. We will see, but most of them are going to follow the pattern or the formula that you're seeing on the slide now. So in the ayah al-karima above, فَمَا لَهُمْ عَنِ التَّذْكِرَ مُعْرِضِينَ كَأَنَّهُمْ حُمُرٌ مُسْتَنْفِرَةٌ فَرَّتْ مِنْ قَسْوَرَةٍ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, what's the matter with these non-believers? Why do they? Yeah.
before we dive into that, let's just take the example, the classical example of
I
Zayd.
was gonna go through that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
But
think
I was
let's
just
go
gonna
through
say in terms of to pair it up.
Zayd is a lion in terms of, you know, bravery. So Zayd ka'asadin fi shuja'a. So this is the classic example they use in
Absolutely.
the books in order to break that down in terms of the constituent parts.
I was just going to come to it. So definitely, Ustaz mentioned the classic example of Zayd ka-Asad. Zayd is like a lion. Before I explain that, I just want people to just keep in their mind that the verse has certain components. There
Mm.
are the non-believers, there are fleeing donkeys, and then there's a there's a lion in there. So keep that in your mind. Now, okay, so in the classic rhetoric, we give a tashbih of in the following form. So we take a person, Zayd, kal Asad. So Zayd ka is like, that's the simile particle, as you can see on the screen. Then al Asad, the lion. So Zayd is like the lion or a lion. But what do we mean by Zayd is like a lion? When we're comparing one thing to another thing, a simile, what, Zayd's clearly not an animal, right? He's literally not a
Mhm.
lion. He hasn't got a mane, 4 legs, paws. He doesn't eat raw meat like that and things like that. He doesn't hunt in the way a lion does. So what do we mean? So there must be something that is connecting Zayd to a lion in a non-literal way. There must be some feature, some aspects that we're trying to say Zayd is like a lion. And often we will find that lion is supposed to be, you know, a brave, ferocious, you know, fierce, dangerous. So when we say Zayd is like a lion, what do we mean in brackets? We mean Zayd is like, he's really brave. He's as brave as a lion. So those are the different elements in play when we're doing a comparison or a simile. And this is how we've set it out on the slide. So when I said Zayd kal Asad fi shuja'a, Zayd is like the lion in terms of bravery. I am saying Zayd is, you see to my left, maybe to your right, the likened to, the mushabbah bihi. So what is the thing being compared to or likened to, or Zayd is? And what's Zayd being likened? He's being likened to, sorry, the mushabbah bihi, sorry, is the lion, the likened to, the thing being compared with. And the likened, the person being compared, is Zayd. So Zayd is the mushabbah and the lion is al-mushabbah bihi. And the grammatical element that joins them is the ka. If you can see the ka, the letter ka, that is the grammatical component that joins Zayd to the lion. But what's the property or the quality that's joining Zayd and the lion? Well, bravery. And you can see that where we've written wajhu shaba or wajhu tashbih. That's just saying what is the thing, the underlying quality that they both are being compared with. Zayd is being compared to a lion in terms of its bravery. So Zayd is the mushabbah bihi, the lion is mushabbah bihi and Zayd is a mushabbah. So
I mean, so the purpose of making these similes is to really exaggerate, B, to make the point very vivid. You can just say Zayd is brave, but if you say
yeah,
Zayd is like a lion, in your mind there's a very strong image of lion, and lion represents bravery. So
yeah,
it has this very impactful effect on the listener in terms of Zayd being brave. I mean, in English we say, you know, such and such is a snake, for example.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, meaning it's really slippery. Yeah, so it's part of language to be using figurative speech in order to make a point. So hopefully, you know, we're going to be kind of repeating this formula throughout the month anyway. So you'll get hold of these terminologies and these particular components as we actually go through it. So let's take this verse as an example. This is just a quick sort of taster of a amthal, if you like, in the Quran. So this verse is in Surah Al-Muddathir. So this is a verse which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed in Mecca to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the audience in Mecca we know is the pagan Quraysh, and you have also the few early Muslims. And you know, this verse is just coming after a few of the preceding verses talking about Jahannam's, talking about warning, etc. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this particular verse, he wants to describe the state or the reality of the disbelievers in terms of their running away or being averse to the reminder, to the Quran, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse, he says, فَمَا لَهُمْ أَن تَذْكِرَ مُعْرِدِينَ. So this فَمَا لَهُمْ, what is the matter with them? Why do they turn away from the warning? So here we have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is censoring and condemning the disbelievers from turning away from this Quran, from the message of the Quran, from the warnings and the admonition and the advice and everything the Quran entails. And the Quraysh and the Mushrikeen of Mecca, they are turning away. I mean, that could have been end of it, and that would have made sense.
Right.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then says, كَأَنَّهُمْ, as if they are, كَأَنَّهُمْ حُمْرٌ مُسْتَنْفِرَةٌ, as if they are frightened donkeys, or you know, asses, as in the translation, فَرَّتْ مِنْ قَسْوَرَةٍ, fleeing from a lion, right? So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us a tashbih, is giving us a similitude of the disbelievers whom Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is reading the Quran to and inviting them to this Quran, to this Islam, and they are running away, and Allah is describing them running away as if they are running away from a ferocious lion. And you can see I've got some images on the right. So you've got some, you know, donkeys, few of them running away from a lion, and then we've got the Musaf here. So let's just go, you know, let's just go through our structure very quickly, and then we can look at some of the lessons, because after all, there is some lessons. لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. There is some lessons to be learnt from these similitudes. So
yeah, so looking at our structure then, as we were saying, so the non-believers here, so we want to, if we can sort of annotate it here.
I'll get my annotation out.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So let's look at the mushabbah first. So who are the people that are being likened to? Who are the people being compared? So it's the non-believers. So they're the mushabbah. They're the ones who are being compared, or likened, yeah. And who are they being compared to? What are they being compared like? They're being compared like frightened donkeys braying and running away at the sight of a ferocious, you know, animal of prey or predator, in this case a lion. So they're the mushabbah bihi. So if our audience can, while they, you know, if they can sort of follow that, if they can see Ustaz's annotation up there. So yeah, so Ustaz also conveniently highlighted hum, فَمَا لَهُمْ, and hum of course refers back to the disbelievers when you have to look at the previous ayat. So from them turning away from Allah's reminder, turning away from it, how is Allah comparing their turning away, their sort of rejection of this guidance? Well, Allah's compared the non-believers, the mushabbah, to braying and frightened donkeys that bolt at the sight of or the sound of a ferocious lion or a predator. So the non-Muslims are compared to bolting donkeys at the sight of something like a lion, running away and braying, and that their turning away from the revelation is compared to that running away of the donkeys, as you can see so vividly in the image. Now, just to give you a couple of seconds for our viewers to have a look at where they can identify the simile element. All right, Ustaz has highlighted it in purple for you. Yes, it's cat. So it's quite clear, isn't it, where the simile particle is, the simile element, the tashbih, the adatu tashbih.
Yeah, the like.
Now, they're the like. That's right. So what's the underlying feature or aspect or quality Allah wants to link the comparison with. So what's the feature as we put there, the wajhu shabah in, I think, yellow. So the underlying feature or quality, you could say, or aspect, is the fact that they, you know, they are in loss of their intelligence. You know, they have no sense of, you know, they've decided to park their brains when it comes to this. And you know, and what animal fits in this particular case? I think quite commonly across cultures,
Yeah.
the donkey is the apt animal that's used within the common consciousness,
Yeah,
to be compared with lack of intelligence.
and also, you know, the donkey has been used, you know, in similitudes in the Quran and other places.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
for example, in Surah Al-Jumu'ah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا. So this is mentioned in Surah Al-Jumu'ah, the parable of those who are responsible for implementation of the commitments to the Torah, and
that's right.
they do not fulfill it. ثم لم يحملها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفار. They're like donkeys carrying books on their backs. So again, donkeys, they have this reputation of being not intelligent. They don't benefit from knowledge, right? And they are, you know, as you mentioned, cross-culturally, they are seen as, you know, fairly dim, you know, witted animals. So here Allah
And
subhanahu wa ta'ala is making that sort of comparison in that respect with the
so
different.
remember, these are humor, يعني وحشية شديد النفار. If you look in the tafsir books,
Mm.
these are just wild asses.
Mm.
You see, wild, that just are gonna bolt, you know, at the sound of anything. Yeah. So, and I didn't mention this before, but our viewers, it's very important. And I know we're sort of coming up to the end, but the every simile or parable has a gharad. There are aghrad or tashbih. There's aims behind why Allah, you know, will strike a parable, and that could be to praise, to blame, to mock, to humiliate, to draw attention to something, and so on. And when we try and go through these parables, try and pick up what you think. Obviously, try and pick up the components we put down on the slide and reflect on them, but also think about what the purpose of the simile is. And I look how Allah's humiliating those who turn away from his revelation. Now, turn away is a very neutral term, isn't it, in English? So it
Yeah.
doesn't quite,
Mm.
mu'rideen are people who, it has a negative connotation. So,
And what is
but
interesting
yeah,
in
the word mustanfira, some of the mufassirin, they mentioned that this has a form of, you know, mubalagha,
yes, definitely.
in terms of
The addition of the
hyperbole,
letters. Yeah.
where
Yeah.
it's not just any running away, but it's running away, frantic running away, and not only that, they are encouraging each other
Yeah.
also to run away. So it has this, you know, wild, you know, excitement in terms of when they are running away from the revelation itself. So, I mean, just to kind of, you know, giving everyone a bit of a taster, but, you know, the main point of these amthal is to take some lessons, is to take some teachings, is to take some guidance from these examples. And now here, this issue of tadabbur and contemplation, how people run away, or what is, I mean, the heart of it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about a relationship that should exist between people and the revelation, between this tadhkira, this reminder from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah is giving us an example of those people who are running away. So this is, although this is an example of state of the disbelievers when invited to the Quran, you know, but these examples should not be just restricted to just say it's just the disbelievers, but it's for you know, for us to, as Muslims, to think about our own relationship with the Quran. Because as you mentioned earlier on, you know, all these verses in the Quran, nadribuha linnas nadribuha al-amthal linnas, that we have struck these examples for human beings, and that includes us as Muslims. So we've got to start kind of thinking and really going into this verse and looking at this imagery and then asking the question, what does it mean for me? What does it mean for my family, for my community, for my ummah? What is our relationship with this Quran? And again, I think this example is probably a good example to start off with. We are entering into the month of Ramadan, and it's the month of the Quran, and to reflect on that.
Jazakallah, yeah, Ustaz, definitely is very important. I just wanted to mention, if I'm allowed to sort of set a little bit of homework for our viewers. Yeah, would that be allowed?
Yeah,
All right, so
yeah, why not? Let's put some questions, and we can put it up on the Facebook feed, and then if somebody wants to answer them, get some engagement, that would be great. Let's do
that's
that.
right. So we've got obviously here in the verse, qaswara, we've got it here translated as, a kind of a lion, yeah, which is, that's correct, but there are some other meanings to the word qaswara, and they're very varied.
Yeah,
and hopefully, some of our maybe more sort of maybe eager viewers and listeners, if by our next session, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, if you can come back with, or in Ustad's sort of page, you can start maybe some discussion if you're able to.
yeah.
What other meanings of qaswara is there, and are they relevant, or can they be fit into the verse? So
Absolutely.
qaswara, that's the homework.
That's very good. I think
While we reflect
we
on it.
might give a couple of homework questions, inshallah ta'ala. So let me stop the slide now, and then we can just see each other. So brothers and sisters, hopefully, just giving you a taster of what to come during the month of Ramadan. And I'm definitely excited, because through this, Ustaz Saf, I don't know about you, as we are going through these amthal, we have to do a bit of research. And when we do the research, go into the books of tafsir and balagh and others, you learn a lot.
Of course,
So
of
it's
course.
a journey of learning
It's
for me,
phenomenal.
definitely.
It's phenomenal. It's been a journey, and I hope our viewers can join us on this journey. We're learning more and more. We're trying to reflect more and more, and come join us in this reflection together, in hope of building our relationship with the Quran, loving it more, drawing ourselves closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to implement, the warnings that are in these amthal. So we ask for your du'as. Allah gives us and you tawfiq, keeps us well and safe. And we hope to have our next session, same time, on Thursdays, it was said, isn't it?
Where we'll have to see when it starts.
Well, we'll have to see, depending on, of course, depending on the hilal.
But there will be some adverts going out. So look out for those, and make sure you tune in at
Definitely.
the session, and invite your friends and family. For now, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
ويضرب الله الأمثال للناس لعلهم يتذكرون